all over the state of Mississippi. It's very, very critical. Money is short. There's not a lot of hope for additional money. I wish I could say I thought there was. I don't. But I would certainly be the most pleasantly surprised person in the world if there weren't. Every school district is having to do some belt tightening, and we will be no exception. School districts in Mississippi either kind of have this option: either you do your own house cleaning, or the state does it for you.
All right, as most of you have known, we were cut 8% back in October, which was around $700,000. We were again cut in February 3.19%, which was equivalent to about $300,000. If you'll go back and look at your fund balances 2 or 3 years ago, we were down to $200,000. If we would have had that hit this year, we wouldn't have made it past Christmas. So yes, we were hoping, and we're still hoping, that we could make it this year without any cuts, put a plan together, and let the board see it for next year, because we're projected 12 or 15% cut. With that being said, we just were not that fortunate yet. So what we did, we met with our directors here. We met with all our principals and said, number one, if the funding is not put back in place, what are our options this year? Number two, what can you live with and what can you live without? Each principal was here, every director was here, and these are some of the ideas, and it's an option, and all this is a report. No action to be taken or anything. Okay, it's just a report. So as we begin to meet with them, and our curriculum specialist and everyone involved decided that most of the instruction is covered, our curriculum is covered by the spring break week. Okay, so if we were going to make any recommendations, because we even thought about this month of moving some of our assistant teachers out. We're not picking on assistant teachers or non-certified staff. Certified staff are protected by the state. We cannot touch a certified teacher. That salary is done, it's done to the end of the year, we have no control over it. So we have to look at avenues that if we were cut this year, what would be our option? Teresa's got those numbers that'll show you those 41 days that we would be without them, how much it would save. And our point was, if it'll save that much, that's probably 4 or 5 teachers next year that wouldn't be cut on a very minimal concept. We will have a plan in place for next year if the 12 or 15% cut goes through that will deal with everything from my salary all the way down. We'll have a plan. Our office, our principals' days, athletics after school, on and on and on and on. Hopefully we don't have to come to that point. If it does, my concept is, being the business part of it, we better have a plan in place. And we better not just assume that someone's going to give us some money out there because it's not there.
The MAEP state revenue to our district at full funding this year would be $12.2 million. With our state in an economic recession and our state revenue continuing to decline this year, Governor Barber cut state funding, and to this district as of February 5th, we still may not be finished with cuts this year, but as of February 5th, that amounts to, for Calhoun, $1,005,842. But just to refresh your memory as to what we've already done to help in this regard, less buses were purchased. Textbook purchases were stopped, except for some elementary consumables and those necessary to get our career technical center up and going. Facility improvements were reviewed and some postponed until funding is more stable. Schools were notified to implement energy efficiency measures. The schools were notified to spend from their operational funds conservatively. The administrative pay schedule, which is the pay schedule for instructional leaders in our district, was revised and 3 positions lowered, effective with 09 and fiscal 10 new hires. 2 regular elementary classroom teacher positions have already been eliminated. 1 bus shop mechanic position has been eliminated. 3 library aide positions and 3 physical education aide positions have been eliminated. 5 assistant teacher positions have been eliminated. ARA funds, though, kicked in and saved those jobs just for the rest of this year. The ag teacher contracts were reduced from 12 months to 11 months. A clerical position was reduced from 12 to 11 months. Bus routes were reviewed and some were eliminated. Facility improvements that were ongoing when we first started getting cuts were funded with the 3 meal note funds balance after the Votech Center was renovated, sufficient for startup, rather than using district maintenance funds for the other facility improvements in our district as we had originally budgeted. The technology budget was reduced to provide maintenance only, with major network and computer lab replacements and upgrades that we normally schedule on an annual basis put on hold. The schools were notified to not employ substitute teachers, but cover classes with existing staff for the rest of this year. EEF spending was frozen, and a new board policy is being considered that has less leave credits for extended absences. Now that's about 18 things that I just mentioned have already been implemented. And even having made those cuts, with the district facing a 12 to 15% reduction in our 2011 state revenue, expecting an 11% increase in our state health insurance for our employees, having an increase of 1.56% in the employer's contribution to PERS, the Public Employees Retirement System, and in 2011, very little, if any, ARA funding is left. The district faces a potential $1.1 million deficit. Administrators, as Mr. Moore mentioned, throughout the district met in a series of meetings, and one option being considered because of the significance of the savings that can be generated from that option is to implement now and save classroom teachers for 2011 as of spring break, to lay off assistant teachers, tutors, aides, and some custodians. That alone, from spring break to June 30th, would generate for our district $200,000 toward helping with that $1.1 million deficit. That's about 4 classroom teachers.